Food. It is as essential as air is to breathe and water is to drink. Food is life. But where does our food come from? The Bahamas has more than 2,000 farmers, but it's hardly enough to keep up with our growing population. Or is it? We traveled the nation to find out the answers to the questions everyone is asking. Can we grow enough fruit and vegetables? Can we raise enough sheep, goat, and chickens? Can we catch enough fish to feed a country with almost 400,000 people? Keep watching as we find out from the people who make it happen. Can we feed ourselves? At more than 120 miles long and 776 square miles total, Abaco is easily one of the largest islands in the Bahamas. The island was first settled by the Lucayan Indians. Early maps show the island's name as Lucayanique. The inhabitants called it Abaco. Later, it morphed into Abaco. Like many islands in the Bahamas, the original inhabitants were enslaved and exterminated. Abaco is said to have been one of the islands visited by the Italian explorer Amerigo Vespucci, for whom the Americas are named. Legend also has it that Abaco was also one of the islands visited by Ponce de Leon in search of the mythical Fountain of Youth. After years of being uninhabited, the island was settled by more than 1,500 British loyalists from New York. It is believed they settled and formed what is now known as Hopetown, Abaco. Signs of the loyalists are everywhere on Abaco. They initially tried farming cotton before settling on life around the seas. To this day, Abaco remains the boating and sailing capital of the Bahamas. Abaconians march to their own beat. It's that independent spirit that has fueled the island's place as one of the most prosperous and productive islands, especially when it comes to farming. There is a lot of buzz around Abaco Apiary. Bees, lots of them. Abaco Apiary is a part of the Lightburn family farm, operated by this guy, Mike Lightburn Sr. For Lightburn, the bees are a means to an end.
And that's kind of what I do here. Right now the bees are slow in producing the honey, but it's also, they're out there pollinating as well, you know. Not only are they helping me here on this farm, they travel up to 6 miles, so they're on other people's farms pollinating what they need to be pollinated as well. So everybody's kind of a win-win situation for them. However, there are always obstacles as well, or things that aren't good in farming, and that's like monocrops. I mean, I know it's important, you have to have it, you know, it creates jobs, but with a monocrop, there's nowhere for the bees to go. So my whole plan is to try and grow as much flowers or beneficial plants on the property to sort of keep the bees here. And so that's kind of what I've been doing about 1.5 years now, really strong, and hopefully at the end of the year I'll be able to have some more honey. And but it is really about pollination here in the Bahamas, and that's kind of what we want to do.
Lightburn takes the idea of farm education seriously. He says next to land, knowledge is the farmer's best tool.
It's just about education, teaching people that bees could really do it. You know, I mean, there's millions of other insects out there that pollinate, but bees are really predominant simply because they come in numbers, and you know, and they really go on most flowers. A lot of other insects, like butterflies, they choose certain flowers, and there's only a few of them. But the bees just come in the thousands, and every one of these bee boxes out here that you see probably got anywhere from 20 to 50,000 bees in them, and every day 3,000 or 4,000 from each hive go out and pollinate or bring nectar back. And so it's wonderful to have here, and it's just going to make Bahamas that much more beautiful, you know. So of course this is going to be my demonstration hive here, the regular, long straw hive. And this is probably the oldest one I had, and if I probably got 12, 13 gallons of honey out of that. So, not bad. So, but you can't take it all, right? So you got to give them some there. And then I found that this pond is extremely important to have a pond here because bees love water, but they can't swim. So I put this little cedar in there, and they go down in the cedar and drink the water. And there's a few in there drown every now and then, but these are able to get back up and take the water back to the hive. This is actually my favorite little hive. This got too many bees in here now. So all these bees. This is probably full of honey. This has probably got quite a bit of honey in it. So I'll probably take some, but not enough to. I probably get a case maybe or so, And yeah, they seem happy until they sting me. They love to sting me with my bald head. Oh my God.
The bees aren't the only winged creatures on the farm. Lightburn is in the process of raising his second flock of laying hens. He's had this batch from hatchlings after his first coop was decimated by wild boars and rats. It's the kind of problem you have on a farm like this, but Lightburn is determined to raise chemical-free organic eggs and use the manure for the rest of his farm. Lightburn sees the land as his own personal grocery store. It's a way of life he's determined to pass on.
Way back when my mother and father was around, she always talked about, let's go to the farm, get some fresh produce, or go get some fresh fish. So they used to do that back then. There were farms there. And then what happened? They all died out. Someone said because, we sent our children off to school and they found a different lifestyle, so they never came back to farm. They wanted to do something else, doctors, lawyers, and whatever else. But I can tell you what, I know one thing. If kids come on this farm here, and there's so many different aspects of farm. They come on the farm, they work on the farm, and they see nature, and they understand nature. Whether they want to be a doctor or a lawyer, I guarantee you they'll be a better doctor or lawyer for sure, just because of being here and being exposed to the nature part of life. It just changes people. It changed me. The bees themselves have changed me a lot. Not that I was a bad person, but yeah. This is all, these two bags here are worms, and that's the kind of stuff. So I feed them all the, any vegetable type stuff, product and stuff like that, and they turn the soil into this type stuff here.
Lightburn sees his farm as one big ecosystem of life and says he wouldn't trade it for anything.
Because it's not easy, it's all about production. You have to grow 10,000 heads of lettuce in order to make a little bit of money. So farming is not an easy thing to do. It's hard work, but it's satisfying and enjoyable work. For myself, that's for sure.
When she calls, they answer. Leanne Kagan thinks of herself as a sheep whisperer of sorts, raising almost all of her 100-plus head of sheep from birth. She operates Emerald Organics, a fully organic operation in Bale Estates, South Abaco, just outside of Marsh Harbor. While the farm is a business operation, for Leanne, it's more of a calling.
You silly girls, what are y'all doing? We started the flock of sheep with 7 animals from Themulus Catapulus in Nassau. He was very, very helpful to me in the beginning with consulting advice, basically set me up with the initial stock. I still owe him a female. He keeps saying next year, next year. So we started with 7 and we're at 103 in 7 breeding seasons, which is almost unbelievable when you think about the fact that we have also sold quite a few of the male lambs that have been born. So we continue to keep the females to grow the flock. It's a St. Croix Dorper breed mix, so you get that really improved hybrid vigor from the 2 breeds crossed. I still have 2 of my original females of the 6 that we started with, and I have genealogy on all of my animals. They're all ear tagged. I know who came from which cross. I have 3 bloodlines of males, so I maintain that separation. Within the female section of the flock, when it's time to breed, I separate them based on family history, so that we can maintain that as we go forward.
Kagan says she doesn't do labels, and that's why she cannot market her products as certified organic. But the farm is organic in every other way. From the food her sheep, ducks, and chickens eat to the land they walk on, it's all organic.
I don't have an organic certification per se, because that costs money. That costs 10 grand a year from the University of Florida to send their specialist down to tell me I'm organic, when I know I am. This land hasn't had any pesticides on it in 12 years. All we use, if we do spray any of our trees, we use ivory soap, neem oil, and for fertilizer, what comes from the animals. The animals all get organic feed or hay that we grow on the property that never has any spray. So from the standpoint of the animals being healthy, we treat them to the utmost. I basically treat these animals like they're my pets, even though at the end of the day, some of the males will go for food. This is my Maybelline. You gotta get those lashes, man. Look at those lashes. Yeah, what you doing? Yeah. You think Maybelline will give her a contract? I could underwrite the farm costs. Yeah. Yes. Look at them. Say, I don't even need mascaras. Hey, that's good. Yeah.
Juvenile?
Okay. She's about 8 months.
All right, baby.
She's one of my bottle babies. That's why she's so tan. Come on, it's all right.
Her love for her animals is undeniable. She believes it manifests itself in the quality of her products. But Kagan says the social value of her farm is even more important, and that's what frustrates her the most. The farm needs money to continue, and it's money she doesn't always have.
My problem right now is time, because I have a list from probably 2 years now of customers, and I don't have the time to fill all the demand. So this is really, for me, it's kind of like a hobby farm, because I have to work other jobs to keep the farm going. It's not economically viable yet. But considering where we've come from and what we've done to the property, with the outbuildings, the barn, all of the irrigation that we put in, the pastures, I think we've done pretty well in the 10 years. So if the next 10 I stay strong and fit, we'll get to the point where we can supply the local market with mutton. Feeding the Bahamas to some degree, I don't think we'll ever be fully self-sustaining, but I think there are some areas that we have potential. You have to look at how you're going to encourage and empower the people that have the desire to do this. Not everybody wants to do it, and it's not easy work. It's a 7-day-a-week job.
But Kagan is optimistic. She says while things are tough, she has no plans of giving up, as long as she has her sheep to look after.
My experience at BAMSI has been, I would say, second to none. You know, we get to learn about what really happens in the ocean, you know, the largest part of our country. We need to care for our marine resources, and marine science taught to me by BAMSI could help me to, or could help all of us to manage those resources. BAMSI has taught me how to be sustainable, you know, how to care for the environment. I believe that BAMSI will have such a positive impact in years to come that people will look back and say, wow, not just in food security, but sustainability in general, you know, managing our resources. This is one of the only institutions in the world that marries both agriculture and marine science. You can learn by Bahamians about the Bahamas, your country, and really learn how to give back. I believe that BAMSI will help the country to move forward.
And food security, for me, means that Bahamians have access to food to power our biological machines so that we can do work, so that we can grow our society, so that we can do all of the productive things that is necessary. And you know, you got good fuels and you got bad fuels. Okay, and I believe that the amount of imports that we have been importing in terms of food has been bad fuels. So we're seeking to get Bahamians to be able to eat that good fuel, the fruits, the vegetables, the complex carbohydrates that come directly from the ground, the potatoes, the sweet potatoes, the pumpkins, the cassavas, those kinds of things, and to eat poultry and meats that are produced locally in country. So food security is important from that standpoint, but food security is even more important from the standpoint of being able to get it locally. Because could you imagine if there is a global crisis, and we've had examples of this, when there was a fire on the plains in Russia. Russia provides a lot of the wheat to the globe. The Russians held back on their own, on the amount of wheat that they were exporting because they were keeping it for their own population. I remember around about 2007, 2008, we had a global rice shortage. So a lot of the countries that were producing rice held back on their rice for their own population. At the end of the day, what you have to be able to do, and what a government is charged with, is ensuring that its people have access to energy so that we can keep moving our economy forward. And so from that perspective, food security to me means, and that's why we've begun the whole discussion about food sovereignty in Jamaica. It means being able to produce what is necessary in your country should there be some global catastrophe where your people is able to be supplied by its domestic farmers to keep your economy going forward so your people are not starving.
Nick Mayolis has been farming this land for more than a quarter of a century. Before him, the land was farmed by Albert Albury. Mayolis and his wife Daphne grow neem and are the owners of Abaco Neem, one of the most successful farming manufacturing companies in the Bahamas.
Okay, the trees are beginning to blossom. This is actually a beautiful time of the year for me. When to some people the trees don't look well, but they're fine. They're blossoming, and when they're blossoming, they drop their leaves. And then in the next 3 to 4 weeks, they'll start to flower, and the farm will look like we had a snowfall. Everything will be white, and it smells like jasmine. And it'll look like that for about 2 to 3 weeks, and then the fruit begins to form. And they hang like miniature mangoes.
The neem is a wonder plant, and Nick is committed to exploiting all of its uses.
We focus on 2 preventable diseases, like hypertension and diabetes, in which the neem tree is a phenomenal tree with its medicinal properties pertaining to those 2 diseases. In India, it is called the village pharmacy. It is now being grown in Africa, and it's being grown throughout South America. As we stand here today, there's a company in Brazil growing 20,000 acres of neem, and adjacent to it, 20,000 acres of coconut trees. Those people actually visited our farm, and they just duplicated it on a large scale. Okay, when you came into the farm, there was a rock pit about 100 yards from the gate.
I saw that.
That's what we burn. Okay, and we collect all that ash, so in the hole goes ash. We use our farm as an educational tool to encourage other farmers to keep on farming and young people to come and join the farming community. All right, so in that hole, there'll be some ash. Okay, there'll be some ash. And then we have the neem cake, and this is when we press the fruit to extract the oil. This is a byproduct. So besides 7,000 neem trees, we have a variety of flowering trees. We have chickens, and the purpose of the chickens, we have them, those are free-range chickens, but we also have chickens in a skidder. And so we pull that skidder in between every 2 trees. Every 2 trees is 20 feet apart. All right, so right now we're heading to our skidder, and it's 12 by 14, and right now it's housing 14 chickens. And with the skidder, it allows us to fertilize our trees with chicken manure, and also to have fresh eggs and occasional chicken. And so we could just open up and take our eggs. We can water very easily. All right. And this just skids along. So you can see where we recently moved it. We recently moved it from here, and we moved it ahead. So these two trees now, over the next 3-4 days, will get some type of chicken manure.
How often do you move it?
I move it every 3-4 days.
The 120-acre farm in Marsh Harbor is quite an operation, and one that's difficult to duplicate at today's costs. Mayula says money is keeping a lot of farmers out of the game.
Just to get started is $2,000. Land preparation is $2,000 an acre. Now we've gotten it down to about $1,500 an acre, but initially it was $2,000 an acre. Today we have 110 acres, certified organic. We've created a habitat for animal life and a wonderful place for people like ourselves and to come and find a peace of mind. So this is agro-tourism, a combination of agro-tourism, eco-tourism, and eventually a holistic retreat.
The success of Abaco Neem is undeniable. The company makes 23 products that are sold on 8 islands, the Turks and Caicos, and around the world. It's a formula for success that Nick says we must duplicate in order to feed ourselves.
It's important that we encourage young people to get into farming. The technology is there today, vertical growth. I think you've seen it for yourself. There's a group in Nassau working at Goodfellow Farms doing an aquaponics. There's a group over in Guanakee, right here in Abaco, doing vertical growth, doing amazing things. So we don't need, a farmer doesn't have to be on 110 acres to be successful. Right? A farmer could be on 5 acres, live on his farm, a wonderful lifestyle. How many people get to live like we do? What percentage of Bahamians get to live like this? So we eat fresh. We eat very fresh. Every day we can pick a pomegranate, we can pick a banana, etc., grown right here in our country. Being a farmer, there are so many avenues, not just farming, but somebody has to distribute. For example, we'll take Abaco Neem. Somebody has to be a distributor in Nassau, Bimini, Grand Bahama, Eleuthera, Exuma. We are on 8 islands in the Bahamas. So somebody has to do our marketing. Somebody has to do our labeling. The spin-offs in agriculture are wonderful. And when you manufacture, that's a value-added product. And remember, our product goes all over the world. Today, we shipped some Neem products to San Francisco. So when people buy that Neem product in San Francisco, wow, it's made in Marsh Harbor, Abaco, Bahamas. So manufacturing, we can do. Farming, we can do. We can feed ourselves.
Food security will only be successful in this country when we believe in growing our own crops. And the backyard farming program was another good development that Ministry of Agriculture came out with, and it needs to be continued. That needs to be in all these urban renewal and all of these programs. Food security needs to be a part of those programs by engaging every family to grow.
If we can pull that off, the pair says our future will be bright.
Hello, I am Michael A. Coates.
I am Benjamin Robbie.
And this is your BAIC.
We do.
Entrepreneurial planning and development, which includes, among other things, business plans, business coaching, business workshops, and handicraft development to empower all Bahamians.
With its property and land at affordable rates for startup business expansion, and farmers.
We assist in producing produce reports by empowering farmers and facilitating sales to our weekly farmers market with some of the best prices in the country.
At BAIC, We are here and ready to assist you in becoming an entrepreneur and bringing the freshest Bahamian produce to your family's table at very affordable prices. We are leading the way toward food security, empowering our farmers, and reducing the cost of living for families. Come and see how we at BAIC can help you today.
One of the issues, or not necessarily an issue, one of the things that I feel as though we need to do in the Bahamas is get appreciation for local produce. We need to make persons aware of why it is good to purchase local produce, not just because of the farmer, because of health reasons for themselves, the economic benefits, the jobs that it helps with the persons that work from the field straight to the packing houses, even the boats that take the freight to Nassau and whatnot. You find that we still have a problem with persons not understanding fully. To me, I think that local produce does not mean that it's an inferior product or of poor quality. We have been able to put out, I've seen not only in Abaco, but on other islands as well that I've visited or that I've seen produce from, they're able to put out a grade A quality product. And we have also proven that we're able to do this in large quantities. So the only thing that I think needs to be done is that there needs to be more of a work together, the farmers, to come up with who is going to be growing what in what quantities, so that we don't have gluts in the market at certain times of the year.
A short boat ride from the mainland, just off of Marsh Harbor, brings you to this, Great Guana Key. 6 miles long and 1,500 yards at its widest point, Guana Key is pure tropical paradise. Famous for its beaches, boating, and beauty. Mike Lightburn Jr. is hoping it will be famous for being the Bahamas' own Garden of Eden. Lightburn and his partners are growing a wide variety of fruit and vegetables to supply the produce needs of a lot of the Abaco restaurants and supermarkets under the label Sir Eden.
Okay, so a big part of what we do, we like to call it kind of regenerative farming, and it's building the soil, but also building the ecosystem and trying to improve the ecosystem. So we do a lot of intercropping with vegetables, but also with different flowers, different trees, because different bugs, different critters like different environments. So in order to keep a balance in the ecosystem, we try to create that balance, but using the things that we can also sell as far as the vegetables. So you see we've got carrots, mint, basil, onions, beets, rosemary, parsley, thyme, sugar apple, guava, pineapples, passion fruit, papaya, all within a field, all manageable and keeping the diversity.
Diversity is a buzzword with Sir Eden Farms. From the small sea grape orchard in the shadows of their greenhouse to small batches of tropical fruit everywhere, the team has built their farm around the idea of supplying good quality produce and fruit in manageable quantities. Whatever they need, they try to source locally, and so far, it's working.
So again, another field, you can see the diversity, different things growing. We got corn in the back, more broccoli, and here's the dragon fruit. These actually came from Freeport. A friend of mine had 3 different varieties in his yard, and he sent me over about 5 small little pieces of it. And as you see, they're starting to take off, and all the trellises actually all have dragon fruit at the base. We got our first crop last year. There was maybe 5 or 6 of them, but they were really, really tasty and really good. So we're excited to expand that whole thing throughout the farm.
Produce and fruit are the only things all over the farm.
And basically we take scraps from restaurants, stuff that's maybe rotten in the field, and we put them in these tubs and we cover them with leaves, and the worms actually break them down 5 to 10 times faster than a traditional compost. You can see how rich and full of life the soil is. And this was all at one time just rotten vegetables and leaves. And not at any point did we put any soil in this. This is just castings from the worms.
There's no fresh water on Guana Key, so the guys had to be resourceful.
So this is our 50,000 gallon water bladder. We RO the water and we store our water here. The bladder rises and falls with how much water's in it, and this is the water that actually feeds all the fields. When it's full, it stands about 4.5 feet high. It's a beautiful waterbed if you wanted to sleep under the stars one night.
A big part of the philosophy behind the Sir Eden operations is the idea of using nature to help their crops along. The farm also has a strong collection of bee colonies that they tend to. While the bees can produce honey, that's not the main reason they're on the farm. The small fuzzy insects are making a comeback on Guana Key, and it couldn't have happened at a better time.
So in the 2 years, the hives have doubled and tripled. There's now multiple hives throughout the island, and it's been very noticeable in people's local gardens, even on our farm, the level of productivity that's come out because the bees are here to pollinate. So we have bees for honey, but mostly we have them for pollination for the coconuts and the vegetables.
At over 3,000 square feet, this is the showpiece of the operations, an edifice of steel and glass that allows Sir Eden to defy Mother Nature, especially during hurricane season. The greenhouse has been a game changer for the farm.
So we had this greenhouse built about 1.5 years ago. It was a custom built system for Abaco for the weather. It's rated for 175 mile-an-hour winds. And the beauty of that is in a storm situation, most crops outside would be devastated, even in a Category 1, where we're able to kind of lock it down, and as soon as the storm passes, we're able to continue harvesting and provide fresh crops. And we all know in a hurricane situation, the grocery stores empty out fairly quickly. We're able to replenish them as if nothing ever happened on our end. In the greenhouse, we have a big diversity of leafy greens, from your salad mix, arugula, spinach, basil, and again, we're able to adjust with the market demands rather quickly. It's still a very local product. We like to employ local people. We like to service the local market. We do it through farmers markets. We send stuff on the ferry. We take orders through Facebook, Instagram, text message, WhatsApp. If you sent a carrier pigeon with a note, we would fulfill the order just like that as well. It's really important to us that we do our due diligence in reaching the local market. Being in an archipelago environment where there's multiple keys, there are logistical challenges, but we do our best through even taking our own boats to deliver crops to make sure that we get to everybody that needs a product. To tell and see how our farm evolves is to really look at the farmer himself and see the true passion and enjoyment he gets out of what he does. And it's just something about having your hands connected to the earth, watching Mother Nature do its thing, watching the ecosystem develop, that it's true enjoyment. And then it's the only business I've been in where I've actually sold a product, taken money for the product, and still the customer continues to say thank you for doing what you're doing, and they embrace the fact that we're doing it. It's not like selling shoes or anything else. It's something that really touches you. You connect with the people in the community. The people know their farmer. They're excited to come see the farm, and it fills us. You're fulfilled at the end of the day because you see the excitement in their eyes and how they're now connected to their food and they understand more. They left with a whole new appreciation for agriculture. And that's something that through our farm tours every Saturday, we hope to instill in the local community, is this passion for agriculture, passion for farming and growing. We want to see people growing food in their backyards, because again, one farmer, 2 farmers, 10 farmers can't feed all these people. And it's not only important to sell produce, but it's important to understand how your food grows and where it comes from. So when you, the consumer, can grow something in your backyard, you eat healthier, but you also find that true passion and enjoyment.
Chris Albury is a partner in Sir Eden. He says small, smart farming is the future.
I think it's a little different than what maybe farmers in the past or businesses in the past have thought with a large-scale agriculture. That's not going to feed us. I think it's small scale. If each community had a small farm or multiple small farms, it's not about like competition, it's more about teamwork. Each community needs several small farms growing a diversity of product, from greens to root vegetables to fruit, and something that we can sustain year round. That's, I think it's very possible.
Supporting local, that's what building the country, that's what's going to build the agriculture here, that's what's going to build, like you say, about feeding ourselves. The local support is what's going to do it, so the community is vital to feeding ourselves.
In a demographic like Nassau, you could have 30, or more small farmers. When I say small, less than 50 acre, hydroponics, aquaponics, small scale citrus and different specialty items ranging from fruit to vegetables, greens, year round. I think that's the way to do it, and it's certainly possible.
Albury and Lightburn believe they've latched on to a concept that could become the wave of the Bahamian farming future. Small, organic, and local. But it will take some teamwork.
If all of the farmers come together, work together from the farm straight to the consumer, I think we can put a large dent into imports.
We got the pea shoots, spicy salad, and sunflower.
Hi, I'm Neil Aberley. My wife and I are co-owners of Homegrown Greens. It's an organic farm located here in Hopetown, Abaco. We grow organic sprouts and microgreens for distribution here locally in Abaco and also to other islands within the Bahamas.
If you've ever eaten in a fine dining restaurant in Abaco, Grand Bahama, or New Providence, there's a pretty good chance you've eaten something grown by Neil Aberley of Hopetown, Abaco. Aberley and his wife Rachel are the owners of Homegrown Greens, a tiny operation making big waves in the Bahamian food industry.
It's a very high quality product, very delicate, but because we're able to grow it locally, we can get it to the market in a very fresh condition, and it is really liked by our customers who are both individuals and chefs at the restaurants because of the tremendous rich flavor, because it's so fresh, and the nutrition profile. Sprouts and microgreens, very nutritious products.
Being accepted by chefs and supermarkets makes for a tempting opportunity, but Aberley is being extra cautious over expansion.
We've been slowly expanding through the years. We've expanded our facilities over in Hopetown. It is a somewhat labor-intensive type of farming. They really need TLC, twice a day, morning and night, to see if they need water or moving to a different location. So we're at a comfortable level at the moment. Of course, we're always happy to add new customers, and we do have a little room for more capacity where we are. But we don't have any ambitious plans to grow too big, because we want to be able to, really tend to and care for the product that we're growing.
Aberley feels Abaco is on the rise when it comes to food production in the Bahamas, and is arguably on the cutting edge in farming technology. But with all of that, he's still not satisfied with where we are with feeding ourselves.
I think we could be doing far better in feeding ourselves. You have to bear in mind, we're bringing this stuff in from the States. A lot of times it comes from other countries before it even gets to the States, South America. Fruits are packaged up to a month before they're actually ready to be consumed. So we're really not getting the freshest possible product. I think what needs to happen, particularly for the family islands, is that you have more local farmers who can grow on a scale that matches the territory they're trying to serve. And in that way they'd be able to bring a product to the market that is far superior in terms of freshness and quality, because it is much fresher than what we get from far away. So if you match the technology to the market and what it demands, yes, the Bahamas can feed itself, absolutely.
Andy says if we can do it by eating healthier, that's good too. From the outside, this looks like any other warehouse, but on the inside, something incredible is happening. Since January of 2018, this is where most of the tomatoes and sweet peppers sold in the country is packed.
This is where we load on the sweet peppers, load up, then dumped into the washing bin. From the washing bin it goes onto the belt. In here is the brush, cleaning brush. It cleans it, comes out onto the dryer, drying brush. And from there we take it on down. Right here we're braiding on the belt. So where we're taking out all the bad ones up front there, and then we have packets along the belt as you go, packing the different colors, different types of sweet peppers. And from there we put it into the box, goes onto the belt, and then down to the guys putting it on the pallets. I guess Mr. Thomas will take it from there.
Right here we have a man, he takes it off of the conveyor, puts it on the pallet, all in the different stages and different kinds. So with the peppers we have the two kinds. We have the red peppers and we have the green peppers. And with the tomatoes we have the different kinds where we have them different sizes, different in color, from green to red. And then once the pallet is full, a full pallet of peppers would stack about 60 and the tomatoes would be 80. We then put it into the cooler in the two separate coolers, one for peppers and one for tomatoes. These are the two coolers. We have the pepper cooler, which is at one temperature, and then we have the tomato cooler in the back, which is at another temperature.
This is the packing facility owned and operated by 5-Star Ag and Turf in South Abaco, just off the Ernestine Highway. Every day, the facility handles thousands of pounds of sweet peppers and tomatoes for the local Abaco market, but the bulk of their harvest is shipped to New Providence and Grand Bahama. But before anything can be harvested, they must start here in the automatic seeder. Seedlings are packed into the proper amount of soil before being transferred to the grow house in the back of the facility. This 2,500 square foot greenhouse is where acres and acres of tomatoes and sweet peppers get their start before going over to the field.
And say, stop right there. Pick one of these and you'll see too much fertilizer is growing too fast. It causes your fruit not to be big. You got to change something.
Oh wow.
We planting 6 acres every 2 weeks to keep up with the production. It's 3.5 acres of tomatoes and 2.5 acres of sweet pepper. And we got a crew of about 80-85 people working all the time right now. We export into Nassau and Grand Bahama about 2,000 cases of tomatoes a week and between 800 and 1,000 bell pepper. And you know, we're going to be growing right through till May, and then it'll be too hot, and then we'll regroup with the right cooperation from the government and get ready to start the plant again.
Chris Pender still considers himself a novice in the tomato and sweet pepper planting business. But don't let that fool you. Pinder knows exactly what he's doing.
I would say the way we provide in our crop, if we could get everyone else to do the same, our crop is far superior than anything could be brought into the country. And you know, it's freshly done, freshly picked. It's between from we take it off the vine here till it gets to the supermarket in Nassau. It ain't more than 2 days in normal circumstances.
The operation runs like clockwork because it has to. The focus on logistics came from the 10 years experience Pinder gained growing a different kind of crop. What crop, you may ask? Well, you're looking at it. Grass. 5 Star is the country's premier grower of turf of any kind. It's good business. There's a good chance you've walked on grass grown right here in Cherokee, Abaco. Their turf business has been so successful that it's allowed 5 Star to dabble in other kinds of crop, like tomatoes and sweet peppers. Pinder says he wants to do more crops, and he will, but his grass-growing business will always come first. It's an amazingly precise operation to take in.
Right now they're cutting sod. We're getting sod ready to go to Nassau. We need like 100 pallets. They'll just cut it, stack it, drop it, and put another pallet on the machine, cut again. When that one's full, they drop that. The forklift comes behind, loads the pallets onto the 40-foot trailers, and then they off to the ship. Well, we started the sod farming at first, and the reason we started the sod farm was because nobody else in the country was doing it, and it's no risk with the hurricane. You know, if a hurricane comes, we don't have no risk with it. These other crops, it's a big problem if we have a hurricane. And any like lime trees and other type of tall trees, they blow over, break down. And even with the vegetables, we've had major losses the last 2 years with hurricanes. So with the sod, it ain't no problem. We just plant it. If it don't sell, we just manicure it. When it's time to sell, we sell it.
We're talking about just identifying ways in which the Bahamian farmer can make money and parts of the industry that they can get into. 5 Star Farms in Abaco is involved in growing sod, and they have the capacity to provide the sod for every golf course, every yard, all of the landscaping that is necessary in the country. And so they have found themselves a market that used to be supplied from the outside. Those things used to have to be imported. And so now they're involved in that business and is providing sod to the Bahamian society, to our Bahamian economy. And it's important too. I mean, everyone looks at the opportunity for us to green our spaces and our places. And speaking about greening, there's also the opportunity for the production of orchids and other kinds of flowers that we'd like to be able to plant on our highways, plant around our government buildings, plant on our roundabouts, to really give the Bahamian people a sense of beauty as they drive from place to place in the country. A clean environment that is green, that is colorful, and you know, you'd be amazed as to how that really reflects in the overall good feeling and disposition and the sense of hope it provides to a people.
While 2018 has been a banner year for 5 Star, they say this is just the beginning, and there's a lot more that needs to happen to become food secure.
What needs to happen really, I think, is it needs to be looked at where the varieties and the production that's needed to be provided by the Bahamas needs to be said to different individual farmers and see what would their expertise be, and everybody grow a different crop so nobody overlaps. And I think we could grow enough to, you know, feed the country with the full support of the government. And we mostly doing just tomatoes and sweet peppers because, you know, that's one of the bigger products, and we're trying to supply all of what the country needs at this time.
Can we feed ourselves?
Yes, we could feed ourselves. With the help of the government, we could feed ourselves.
Pinder says for farms the size of 5 Star to remain viable, there has to be an open working relationship with the government. From training opportunities to technical and regulatory issues, the relationship has to be symbiotic for any success to be realized. He says the number one challenge for farmers is the lack of insurance.
You know, like I said, we had substantial loss the last couple of years, and it's really difficult. You know, other countries, the United States, for example, they give insurance policies and whatnot to help if it's a major loss. We don't have nothing like that here, and we need something.
Pinder says that 5 Star is an example of what is possible when the government and farmers share the same vision. He's encouraged by the direction the industry is headed in, and says he will continue to encourage the government to put in place policies that help farms become successful. While he knows the import restrictions on tomatoes and sweet peppers won't likely be repeated with WTO coming, he says Bahamian farmers can compete if everything falls into place with farmers and government working as one.
Well, what happened with us is we was able to do we started the sod farm, and we worked at it. We were doing it 10 years. We got to where we were successful with the sod farm. The governments have helped us stop importing sod, because one of the main issues is bringing in the soil from other countries. Florida per se, you got all kinds of insects, snakes, spiders for coming in and stuff, so they basically stopped it from coming in, which was a big help to us. So we took some of the revenue from the sod and started experimenting with tomatoes and sweet peppers. We was actually approached by government before to see what we really could do. So we decided to try it, and this year is probably our best year. We're doing really well this year.
Abaco's uniqueness lies in the diversity of its farmers. Where the island lacks in size compared to Andros, it makes up for in the ingenuity and adaptability of our farmers. But it's the focus Abaconians have on acquiring and sharing knowledge that sets them apart. If these traits can be replicated on other islands, they say feeding ourselves will not be a question of if, but when.